Game 3, game on. Let's take y'all to Detroit, where our New York Post sports reporter Jared Schwartz just left Knicks and Pistons shoot around ahead of tonight's Paramount Game 3. Jared, what's up, man? Hope you got a little Eminem action up there, but let's talk some basketball right now. Like I just said, you just left shoot around, so can you kind of paint the picture for us in terms of what the two different shoot-around vibes were like in terms of the Knicks? Were they locked in or were they loose? Or do you feel like there's a little pressure there? And then there's some noise coming out of the Pistons locker room. So can you break down the vibes from both teams?
I'll start there with the Pistons shoot-around. Tobias Harris spoke. He's a guy who, with the 76ers last year, played against the Knicks, and obviously is a big part of the Pistons core this year. So he's a guy he's a good gauge in how the Knicks have changed from last year to this year.
Yep.
And he was asked, you saw them last year, you're seeing them now this year. How has the personality changed on this Knicks team? And he smirked and he said, it's a different dynamic for sure. And that different dynamic is part of their game plan. And, translation, the Knicks are softer than last year. And that's something that we've really seen exposed in the first two games of the series, in particular game 2 on this past week. Going to the Knicks side of shoot-arounds, Josh Hart, who a couple days ago said he wasn't going to complain about refs, was complaining about the refs a lot in game 2, and this morning said he's got to stop. Him and Cat, karl-Anthony Towns, have to stop complaining to the refs. They're letting it take over their mindset. They're getting thrown off their game. They're not focused, he said. That's something that we'll look out for, later tonight, because a lot of guys say they have to stop complaining about officiating and then end up complaining about officiating. But it was a big talking point in game 2. There was a big free throw discrepancy, especially in that first half. The Pistons, I think, had 14 free throws to the Knicks 2 in the first half, and in the Pistons, the Knicks had 2 late, so it was 14-0 at one point. Tom Thibodeau railed about it after the game, and we'll see how it plays out tonight, but that was a main talking point for Josh Hart, that they got to focus on themselves and stop, worrying about the whistle.
And that's why I guess the fan base or Tobias Harris is calling this team soft. Here it is where Tobias Harris is like, the Pistons own the championship mindset when I feel like in this series right now. The Knicks are going to have to come out and really take that from them, really impose their will on this team. Jalen Brunson, Jared, is getting a lot of blame for the Knicks' poor offensive night in Game 2. So what's Tibbs and the other players saying about what they need to do to get the offense rolling like we pretty much saw all throughout the regular season?
Yeah, I wrote about this the other day. Look, Jalen Brunson has always been ball dominant, but it's skyrocketed in the playoffs. The Knicks as a team are passing way less than they did in the regular season. Brunson is holding the ball in his hands more. Karl-Anthony Towns is getting the ball less. Josh Hart is getting the ball less. It's almost across the board. And Brunson this morning said, "Look, I got to pass more." He was asked a couple different ways and gave a couple different answers, and then eventually said, "Do I have to say it in French? I got to pass the ball more." And that's paramount to this series, because the Knicks invested a lot over the offseason. They gave up a lot of capital to get Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges and to bring back OG Anunoby on the franchise's biggest ever contract. A lot of that was to give Jalen Brunson scoring help, to give him a supporting cast, to take that load off of him, particularly in the playoffs. He had some heroics last year in the playoffs, but is it a better, the whole Patrick Ewing theory, would they be better spreading the ball out? And it's making it easy on the Pistons defense. It's making it easy to stop them. It's a lot of stagnating offense. That's definitely something that needs to improve. And as much as it's on Brunson, it's on the rest of the guys too. It's on karl-Anthony Towns to demand the ball, and it's on him to get more touches down low, because he has Tobias Harris guarding him. He's got a big size advantage there. It's on OG Anunoby to be the same aggressiveness that he was in the first half of Game 1, which kind of has disappeared in the second half of Game 1 and all of Game 2. So, that's important. Brunson acknowledged that he needs to pass the ball more, and now we need to see it.
It's on the players, but it's also on the coaching staff as well. It's on Rick Brunson. It's also on Tom Thibodeau. So I wish I could ask this question in French, but my Francais ain't that good. Is it sink or swim for Tibbs tonight? Like, how much pressure would you say is on Coach?
A lot. Tom Thibodeau, if they don't get out of this series, there'll be a lot of calls for Tom Thibodeau. And even if they do and they don't look good against Boston next round, there'll be a lot of calls for him. Look, I wrote about it for today's paper, actually. The Pistons have used an early chess move that has kind of exposed a big Knicks weakness. They're using Jalen Duren, their center. They're having him guard Josh Hart. And like I said before, Tobias Harris is guarding karl-Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. A lot of that is to take away, Harris's quickness, to take away a lot of karl-Anthony Towns' shooting ability. It allows Jalen Duren to kind of act as a floating defender when Brunson has the ball, when Towns has the ball. And he's not respecting Josh Hart's shooting. This is exposing Josh Hart's poor three-point shooting. He's not meeting him at the perimeter. He's not, coming out and respecting him. He's kind of camping in the paint and acting like a floating help defender, as I said. So now it's time for Tom Thibodeau to pull his chess, piece. How does he respond to that? It's not like it's a completely unique thing. Certain teams in the regular season did use a wing to guard karl-Anthony Towns, for this exact reason. But how do the Knicks combat that? As much as it's on Towns, it's on Brunson, it's on Hart just to shoot more. It's on Thibodeau to figure out a way to get this offense going. They didn't reach 100 points last game. That's pretty shocking in today's NBA. As I said before, they invested a lot of money to raise the ceiling, particularly on offense. And as much as it's on the players, it's on Thibodeau to figure out how to utilize them.
So big money question for you, Jared. You take the Pistons mindset, you take J.B. Bickerstaff's X's and O's versus Tibbs, and then you take the fact or the way that the Pistons played at the Garden in Game 1 and Game 2. Do you feel like it's almost a must-win Game 3 for the Knicks?
Maybe not must-win, but very much should win. You know how it is. The Knicks lose tonight. There's 2 days off before Game 4 on Sunday. If they lose, those 2 days are mayhem. They're chaos. It's people are questioning Thibodeau. People are questioning Brunson. People are questioning Towns. People are questioning Leon Rose and how this team was built together, about how it was put together. Look, for most of this series, the Pistons have been the better team. For most of the first 3 quarters in Game 1, they were the better team before an epic collapse. For most of Game 2 the other night, they were the better team, and the Knicks almost pulled another dramatic comeback, but it wasn't enough. And the Knicks can't keep counting on the Pistons to fall apart late. They have to throw the first punch, as they say. They got to get off to a better start. They can't go down double digits like they have, or down to almost double digits like they have. And you look around the league. This team was specifically built to contend with the Celtics and elite teams like the Cavaliers. They're breezing through their series. Both of those teams are up 2-0 in their series. They really haven't stumbled at all. The Knicks are in a dogfight. The 2 games, it's been a dogfight for the Knicks, and that's the company they want to keep, not the Pistons. So you go down 1-2. You go down 1-2. Another game in Detroit. It's mayhem for the next 2 days.
You say they should win. After listening to everything you said, plus the vibe around the city, they better win this Game 3 tonight. Jared, enjoy Detroit, my man. Appreciate you hopping on.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.